I'm Ariana Grande.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Erivo.
And you're listening to the Broadway Podcast Network.
Visit bpn.fm to discover more.
There's a cat over here. There's a cat over there. And the wrong one died. And the wrong one died.
Welcome to The Wrong Cat Died, the podcast breakdown of the catastrophe. I'm your host, Mike Abrams, and today we have another amazing guest. We have been working with the Fulton Theatre's amusement park production of Cats to bring you a series of episodes this summer. And up next, we have James Patterson, who is playing the Bustopher Jones Gus, and a bunch of other people cast. So welcome, James, and thank you for joining me.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Excited to have you here. I mean, I'm a very pro Team Gus, so we'll get into the Jellicle Choice conversation at the end, but I always love to start with your history with Cats because it's been around for so long. What is when's the first time you saw it? What's been your experience with it before the Fulton?
Okay, so my experience is actually pretty extensive. When I first got to New York back in the, I'll say mid-90s, it was 1996, when I got into the fourth national company, the touring company of Cats, and I was cast as Monkestrap. And so, and speaking of Peaks and Pollicles, which I know you're going to get to later, I was the one responsible for singing Peaks and Pollicles. And so I did that for about 9 months. And then after that, Mark Robin cast me in another production of Cats that he did at Maine State Music Theater, in which I was cast as the Rum Tum Tugger. And now I am playing Bustopher Jones and Asparagus. So yeah, it's been quite a journey with Cats in four different roles. We count both Bus and Gus.
Yeah, so I knew about the fourth tour because that's the tours are published pretty well, and so there's a lot of like data on that. It's the regional productions, the other ones that's really hard to kind of keep up with and keep kind of like tabs on. And I knew they had told me that you'd done a few things. It's an interesting part about this, though, because I've had a few people talk about how Cats is something you can do throughout your career and play so many different characters. And you kind of have done that in parts. Like you've played narrator, you've played Tugger, now you're playing kind of the quote unquote older with Gus.
Yep.
But you kind of have that history that you're allowed to do with this show that I don't think exists in all that many other shows where you can kind of work your way through different characters throughout a career.
Yeah, there's few shows like it, and you wouldn't think so with Cats because you think Cats as being such a physical and dance-centric show, and yes, it is. But there are lots of amazing character parts also that exist in the show that help balance out all the dancing in the show, and that's exactly what Bustopher Jones and Gus does, as well as Grisabella and Old Deuteronomy even.
Mm-hmm. So now that you come in to the Fulton, I'm fascinated by the storytelling part of this, and I'm curious when you start that process. I know you did an entire couple hours or almost a day full of talking through the relationships and the characters and everything. How much did you bring from your other experiences of like, when I was Tugger, when I was Monkestrap, here's how I thought about that, into now your Bus Gus kind of storyline?
You know what? Since I did the original, and basically they mandated the story onto you. So I had that preconceived notion, but I had it the first time I did it with Mark when I played Rum Tum Tugger. And then after, that was my first show I did with Mark, and Mark is great at recreating things and making things, new and, taking it away from its original, conceptions. So because I knew that's the way Mark worked, when I came into this process as Bustopher and Gus, I just let myself go with what everybody else was thinking, because these parts, they're such great parts. They're so ridiculous and fun. That you can just feed off of the energy around you and help build your character that way. So I kind of used it as a moment to just see what everybody else was bringing to their storytelling and see how I could fit into that. And funny enough, it just seemed to work with whatever ideas I was coming up with. It was a really collaborative room, and we just had a good time of saying, you know what, I think we're related, and why aren't we related? It's just. It turned out to be just fun, just picking out new ideas and just running with it. And all ideas were good ideas.
Tell us some of those things. Like, what did you come up with? Like, what is this particular Bustopher Jones and this particular Gus?
Well, I figured my Bustopher Jones, is a, proper cat. He, belongs to all the dining social clubs. And I think he's getting together the after party for the Jellicle Ball. So he's there just to say, hey, what's going on, you guys? And then, they bring a whole plate of food. And I think he's looking at the catering services before he hosts a big party for everybody after the Jellicle Choice. And then,
so this is a trial. This is a trial run, basically. Is he like testing the hot pretzels, like Russell's hot pretzels?
He's just making sure it's all good and that the pretzels are, up to snuff.
Okay.
And also to say, hey, y'all, you're all invited.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, he's just a big party love bug. I love Bustopher. He's just so fun and silly, and I've seen other productions where it makes sense, that he's more snooty, but I like him just to be like, he's kind of a big fancy party cat. And as far as Gus, God, it's such a beautifully written. I think it's the best written character in the show because there's arguably more written about him. Jellicle comes out and she tells his backstory, then he relates what he's going through, and I figured, Gus has had many, many grandchildren. He doesn't really remember who's his grandchildren at the moment, so he thinks everybody's his grandchild. And he's just very happy to be amongst people he loves, and he goes in and out of his past lives as a theater cat.
Yeah, and I think because you do Peaks and Pockles and you do that whole part, you get an extra part to Gus that maybe it doesn't exist in other productions.
Yeah,
because you talk about it, you hear it in the song, but you don't get to like experience it.
Right, and I know, especially of the revival, because they did change a lot from the original. In the original, Gus got to do a number called Growl Tiger, which turned into an aria, kind of a silly aria duet with Jellicle, who becomes Griddlebone. And
yes,
that, for certain reasons, that has been cut, although I don't know if that was my favorite choice. I think they could have done some judicious edits. The aria was lovely, and it was kind of silly because it was kind of like a battling divas moment where two opera cats would kind of like upstate each other. But Peaks and Pockles, I have to say, all right, I'm going to go back for a little bit. When I did Monkastrap originally would sing the entire Peaks and Pockles. It wasn't divided up between anybody else. There's a few choral interjections, but basically it was a patter song only from Monkastrap. And it's a challenge. It was, you have to get your mind around all those nonsensical words and storylines. And when I was done with it, I was like, oh, thank God I never did have to do this again. Only to find out that in the revival, they gave it to Gus. But I will say what Mark did with it here, I'm having so much fun. It's silly. It's great. And I love the fact that he turned it into kind of like a Shakespearian, moment. It's ridiculous. And I think he's done it far better than it deserves to be done. I know that sounds terrible, but he's made it into something I look forward to every night.
Yeah, it has some humorous aspects to it. It kind of breaks out a little bit. And I think, like, again, the part I didn't know as much about, but I love the amusement park kind of version of it, which is and I think that you all do this with Jenny Anecdotes too, where it's like you start with the older cat explaining their past life, and then you go back into the life a little bit.
Yes.
And it feels like you're still like, in the old part of the working amusement park, and you're seeing the show as it was back then, which is a really kind of cool twist into this. That's, again, doesn't dramatically change the story, but adds to the world that's being built in the amusement park kind of angle of this.
I agree. I totally agree. And I know in some other productions I've seen, and even for a little bit, and I hate to say this about the Broadway revival in 2016, which I thought was fine, but I felt like with Bustopher Jones and with the peaks and follicles, I feel like they were apologizing for the numbers instead of really, championing them. Because Bustopher Jones was cut down to almost nothing. There's some people in our cast who did the tour and that production, like, oh my God, I didn't realize there was another verse. I'm like, yeah, there is, and so it's
Bustopher's the first cut in a lot of things. He's not on the Royal Caribbean cruise. Like it does seem like a spot that is constantly either shortened or just completely cut in other places.
I sort of get it, but at the same time, it's fun. It adds to the variety of cats, and he is totally different from all the other cats. So yeah. And I get it for time purposes because it doesn't add much to the plot, if anything, but it does add a lot to the character of the piece. And it's such a sweet, silly number. And Peaks and Follicles is also one of those numbers where, most people are like, what do I do with this? So again, and I, instead of like backing away from it, I really love how both Mark and Joey and the artistic staff here decided to lean into it. And in doing so, it's become, again, I'm having such a great time doing it.
Yeah, and it fits so much clearer in the storyline than it did, and I guess maybe in the other versions I've seen, or just maybe just for me, of like it could be also my growth of seeing the show a lot more,
right? To
where I now know it a lot better. But I found that I followed along of where this was going, more so than that. But I want to go back to Bustopher. I want to go back to Bustopher a little bit because it does get cut a lot, because it is an interesting character in the sense of like what you just said. You're prepping for the after party. You're kind of just jumping in to sing a little bit, but you're not really, auditioning for your choice for the heavyset layer. You're just kind of in there to explain, hey, I'm still here and I'm going to have a good time.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a ton written about the relationships for Bustopher and the other cats. And I've made up a lot myself. And so I'm curious, how did you think about, or how did you start dealing with like, okay, what's my Grisabella or Jelly Lorum or Jenny Anydots type of relationship for Bustopher versus the other cats?
You know what I thought? I went by something so like basic as just simple coloring. I'm a black and white cat. So, and also the fact that I just appear, I bring in this wonderful goodness message sort of thing, and then I pop off, kind of like Mr. Mistopheles. He's black and white. He comes in, he does his thing, because technically, he's in the entire piece, but he's only introduced as magical Mr. Mistopheles after Deuteronomy has been kidnapped, which is pretty much almost 2/3, if not more so, at the end of the show. And he comes on and he does his magic, and he stays through the end of the show after that. But he really just comes on for that moment. I wonder, I can't even remember, for you probably know better than I do right now. In the original, I think the character is called something else technically. Like, I'm not sure if he's called if he's Quaxo or
I think Quaxo is McCavity usually.
Is McCavity.
Right?
But he's sometimes called a different name until he becomes Mr.
No, you know what? I think it might be Quaxo. There's a couple like that. Where it's like they have
even like Gus is called something else before.
Yeah. Well, in 2016 it was Peter, which is my least favorite cat. I just think it's the worst name. But it was Peter, because you're Peter, and then you're Bustopher, and then you're Gus.
Oh, okay, there you go. I didn't know that's what all right. There you go. Why not? I mean, he's mentioned in the naming of cats, so at least they stuck to that.
That's where it came from.
Yeah.
But I've also you've got Mistopheles, Mungo, Jerry, and Rumpelteazer, and then you've got Peter. It's like the lamest name possible for it.
I know, right?
Is there a Grisabella relationship? Because there's a lot of rumors that they were friends before she left the tribe.
I always felt like they were. I feel like, whenever Grizz was doing her thing, she could always come to a place where Bustopher was at, and she would always be welcomed with welcome arms. He'd always make sure she was well fed, and then she'd probably trot off and do her glamour stuff, and I'd still be eating.
Yeah. You have a much more wholesome Bustopher Jones than I do.
What is your idea of Bustopher?
And this is purely, I know exactly where this all stems from, is that the British term gentleman's club is very different than the American term gentleman's club.
Yes.
And I read that, and I just immediately thought Bustopher was running like a Sopranos mob with McCavity, and he was like funding it. And so I've always had this kind of like, he's a mob boss, like behind the scenes, he's the money, he's the one that's at the Italian restaurant eating all the stuff, eating all the food, but then, you know, in the back room potentially dealing with some negative stuff with McCavity. So if you take that angle, there's a lot you can do with it, because then when Grisabella leaves the tribe, is she working for him?
Right.
You know, like, is she working with McCavity? Because he's kind of in and out. It allows to be using the twins for some mischievous ways. It opens up a lot of story for Bustopher that I think sometimes doesn't happen. Yeah.
Well done with that, sir. I love that.
My other Bustopher take is that I think that the reason Jelly Loram doesn't like Grisabella is because that was a love triangle between the three of them.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
That one I know
I'm just like all about eating and being silly.
Yeah. That's so much more wholesome and fun. And I think, like, you know, as for me, I spend only thinking about this stuff. Like, it's all I do is think about the relationships and the stories and the things. When as you as a performer, it's like you've got to go out there and completely switch your mind. You know, at some point you're playing like 6 characters in one day,
right?
Because you're gonna do Bustopher Jones, and you're gonna do Gus, then you're gonna do Growl Tiger, and then you're gonna go through that. And you got a 2-show day,
right?
You're not thinking about all these relationships at that level. You don't need to. Like, it's a fun storytelling arc to think about, but it's not like necessary for the role,
right?
But that's all I'm thinking about, because I don't have to worry about your dance numbers or hitting the right notes at the right time. I'm purely sitting here from a story perspective.
I love that.
I want to ask about the what I believe they're calling them the teens, because they got to make up their own stories. I'm still waiting. I've been promised the backstories for all of these new made up kittens. But how many of them have relationships with Gus and Bustopher?
You know what? They all they really. It was funny. When we were doing the day when we all were talking about our characters, we all sat in a giant circle, and the way it was, all the teens started first, just out of happenstance, and I could not believe how detailed and how Gossip Girl all their backstories were. It was fantastic. Not a lot of. I've decided that most of them are my grandkids as Gus. Bustopher, I don't think Bustopher knows them yet. I think he's getting to know them, because he does just pop in and out, and they're still too young to go to his clubs. But when they get there, they'll have a free drink. That's for sure.
Okay. So there's not a huge relation for that, but there's
not so much. I mean, he knows them, he loves them and stuff, but I don't think he's just so like, how do I describe Bustopher appropriately? He's just like that glamorous uncle or aunt that just comes in, just breezes through like a hurricane, but you want to get on that crazy, and then he just goes off and lives his life.
It is such a unique kind of like pop in, and I love the teen aspect because they're adding another flavor to the show.
Oh yeah, they totally are.
That you don't get in other places, which is super fun. Is there any one of their stories that stood out where you're like, God, I wish we had this on tour? Like, we needed this particular backstory would have added something.
Let's see. You know what? I can't remember any specifics right now that you're quoting them, but they're just like, oh, I think I'm in love with her, but I'm not really. I hate him. It was like all these great little relationships that were just so silly, and unfortunately, I can't remember any particulars, but I was just so taken with how detailed they all were. Honestly, if any of their energies on that tour would have been wonderfully appreciated. We had great energy on that tour. I'm not going to, some of my lifelong friends and people who were just geniuses. But yeah, just to have that silly, teenage energy, it's great,
You need that on that bus. When you got that split week. You need some of that energy to help you through. Oh, that's great.
We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back for more of The Wrong Cat Died.
There's a little bit of a balance as someone who's experienced the show and also experienced it with Mark and before. But how much did you did the Monkish Trap and the Tugger come to you for advice and kind of talk through that? Like, how much did you bring that knowledge to this process?
You know what? I've learned, and also haven't been when I was a younger performer, I've had, got into shows with people who have, done the parts, whatever part I was in, that they've done the part before, and they've inserted themselves and told me what I should do. And, I wasn't, I was young, I wasn't very confident. And so I always did what they told me to do. And I tried in a previous production to offer what I thought was the same advice. And I realized as I was doing it, it's like, no, these people should be able to create on their own. I want to see what they do because they're going to bring something completely new and exciting. And if they want to know my, background, sure, I will be an open door for them. But with this show and with the other ones too, it's like, I don't go up and say, hey, what would really work? They brought just completely themselves and who they are as an artist. And I think it's just been great. I love seeing, brand new takes on material.
Totally. I would have actually thought the reverse. So I wouldn't have expected you to kind of be like, all right, I did this. So here's the way you need to do it. Like that's not what I've expected. But with a show like this, because there is such loose interpretations, I've noticed that there's a lot of, people seek out kind of all of the versions and then to create their own. I hear a lot of, my podcast has turned into a great resource for these productions. I know a lot of regional productions, high school productions, college productions that have used episodes from previous cast members that I've interviewed to hear their version and then, soak all of those in to then say, okay, now here's mine. And so I've always thought that that's a cool part to have someone like you who has experience doing it in a couple different settings to be able to say, okay, I want to hear a little bit about this, a little bit about that. And then I can kind of add my own flavor, add my own thing. So it's kind of it's so undefined in some cases. Like even, I know in the playbill is the story. And I loved watching people around me reading it because a lot of people walked in, I don't think had any idea what they were walking into, which still amazes me 40 plus years later.
Right.
But it's a page. And even the one that Mark sent me was 2 pages. And that's a lot and not a lot when you think about the amount of, even just the things we talked about, different relationships and different, the kittens and being your grandchildren. And there's a lot of other things that aren't on paper.
Right.
That you can kind of really add to this story.
Well, I remember when I was first cast in Cats and, I went and I saw the Broadway production before I went out on tour because I honestly had never seen it. I trained as a classical singer and I was like, how did I get into this big dance show? And then when I got there, the stage manager sat me down. He said, I'm going to tell you the story of Cats. And I honestly thought that they were going to be talking about the history and the making of. And immediately he jumps into the story about
the story.
Yeah. He's like, first he said, we're going to talk about the care of Demeter, who's been repeatedly abused and raped by, Mr. McCavity. And I was like, what? What is
that the first thing they tell you?
That is the first thing he told me.
Yeah.
I was like, I was shocked. And I was waiting at one period of time to say, oh, I'm just joking. It's just a bit of, poetry that they set to music. No. And they were very adamant about, some of these storylines. So I was like, oh, okay, I got to get on board with this. But yeah, that was the first thing they told me.
That's fascinating to hear that because I've done enough of these now. And when I walked out of the show the first time, that's not implied. You don't walk out and say, oh my God, I can't believe McCavity did that to her.
Yeah.
It's not there, but it is one of the first and only things that I think there's 100% definitive this has happened. It's that. And then the other one is Victoria's lift is her losing her virginity.
Yeah. Her deflowering.
Yeah, it's like those are the two things that are 100% true.
God.
And there's a lot of other stuff that's now a question mark.
Right.
And it fascinates me that those are the two. It's like, well, we're for sure. So you being told that as the first plot point,
The very first plot point.
is wild to me. That's like, I wonder why that's such an important part. Like, it's a huge part of how she plays her character.
Yeah.
But it's not really material to the story any other way.
No, it just, And then, as the story was being told to me, the person telling me the story brought themselves to tears. when they said that, Grisabella was going up into the Heaviside layer, this person was full on crying. And I was like, what have I gotten myself into?
Yeah. Well, I do think a part of what sustains the show is that, like, the ability to kind of follow the storylines, because, as I've learned it more, and there's a lot of super fans who, I feel like I know it pretty well, or I know at least certain parts. I know the relationship in the story and that part of the show probably better than most.
I was going to say you're an expert.
Yeah, but there are some super fans who like really know it. And the second or third time I saw the show ever, I didn't know anything about the twins. And then the twins were my most fascinating part of watching the show at that time. And so I do think that what makes it sustain a little bit is that you can kind of have a different experience watching the show frequently.
Yeah.
Because you could watch that storyline, or you could watch Demeter's reaction. And there's so many things, and especially with your production with 30, I think there's 36 of you all.
There are.
Like, there's a lot of cats on stage, and there's a lot of things happening, even that's not the focal point. That's really fun, and really, I want to come back so I can see more of that. Because I was, again, I'm always overwhelmed when I see the show, but I was overwhelmed with the amount of you on stage. But it made for this like really cool, the way, like the layering of cats on the on the track and all the other stuff. Like, it's a visually really cool to watch.
We're having a great time, and it's so beautiful. I can't believe what they did with the sets here. I mean, it's extensive. It really, really is, and I'm in awe of everybody on that stage.
Yeah. So can I give you, before we go to the rapid fire and the important, $1 million question,
all right,
can I give you a couple ideas? One thing I love about these productions is to be able to kind of give you a little bit of a tweak of a thing to try on stage to tell me if it works or doesn't work. And I love with Bustopher, there's a couple options for that. And then there are for Gus too, but maybe a little bit less for Gus because his story is a lot more defined. But I think, like, when you're doing a tomorrow's a 2-show day when we're recording this. Tomorrow's a 2-show day. So maybe this is like a matinee, give it a little twirl and see if it works. But I love the idea. I still love my Bustopher Bob Boss idea. And so I want to know if, like, is there moments in your song or when you're as Bustopher where you could try to, like, be recruiting the teens into your mob?
Oh, I would love that. Honestly, I would love. The only thing that prevents me from doing that is because at that period of time, they are all behind me on the scaffolding, and I turn up and I say hi to them, but it's just for like a brief bit.
It's when you get out of the car, right? It's like you're hopping out of the car and you're
So get this. So my friends came to see the show. I was like, oh wow, yeah, you drove a car. They sing about how you eat. That's what cats do, but no one's talking about the fact that you're driving a car. I'm like, well.
You have to suspend a little bit of belief here to buy into almost the entire story. If that's where we're gonna draw the line is Bustopher driving, it's like we're sending one up on a roller coaster into the moon. But God forbid a cat hops behind the wheel
of a car.
I didn't even think about that. I got in the car before you did that morning. Like we hopped in and there's pictures of me in the car and so we were. I didn't even think about that. That didn't even cross my mind. I'm like, oh yeah, you're driving. There's so many other ridiculous parts to the show that teaching a cockroach how to crochet is up there and like the lyrics.
But the cats are tap dancing. Just when you know what they do.
That's so funny that your friends. That's great. I love that a part about cats though is that they saw something so different.
Yes.
Like, they're just like they're so blown away because I was mesmerized the first time. I didn't know what I was walking into. I had never seen the show. I knew Memory and that was it.
Right.
And I saw a matinee. I had just moved to New York. I was like not prepared to even see a show. Like I kind of found out about the tickets really late, and I thought I was on like an acid trip. Like I thought it was a drug induced like coma.
It really is an altered state of reality when you watch Cats, isn't it?
And so I couldn't even figure out what I was watching, let alone any of these other like little things here and there. I was just like, where are these names? Who are these people? What's going on? Like, and it's fun. Like, it's such a fun thing. And then the other thing too is like, because it's a dance show, like more of a dance show, you see anywhere you are in the theater, you see the like athletic feat it takes to do this show.
Oh my God.
It is a grind for 2.5 hours of dancing. It
really is.
So I'm here for it. Okay, so you're not gonna be able to recruit the teens very easily.
But you know what? Okay, maybe I do have.
Can you do my love triangle?
I could do the love triangle.
The Grizz Jelly Lorem love triangle. You're not busted for all that long though. Is part of the hard part, right?
What happens is Grizz comes on, she leads, then I come on, and then I bop off. So there's. However, I'm kind of getting the suite for I do love our bomb ballerina. She's right next to me on the car, so I try to, flirt with her as I talk about the food.
Okay. I'm here for it. Okay, let's do some rapid fire for cats and only cats. So you've now played 4 technically cats, more than 4 actually. Who would you want to go on if you could go on one night? Again, doesn't matter, male, female, just if you could do it one night, who do you want to go on as? Oh gosh,
you know what? I would have said Gus, but now I'll take him off the table. Gus is still my first choice, but I would say I'd love to do Grizz.
Grizz, yeah, just come out 15 minutes on stage. That's it. Just
sing that big powerhouse number. Everyone loves you, and you get to go ride on either a roller coaster, a tire, whatever they decide to ship her off on. It's pretty great.
Yeah, I spent a good hour of the whole episode trying to convince Mark to send you up one night. Like just one night, just one night. Instead,
we always joke about like what happens to Gus after this.
It's a fair question. Well, okay, let's get to that. Hold on, let's finish the rapid fire because then that's my last question is the Jellicle Choice. So, who are your favorite and least favorite cats from a personality standpoint? Because they're all family. So which one do you want to hang out with and which one kind of bugs you?
All right, let's see. I would hang out with Misto. Misto, definitely. I would probably hang out with, I love Jenny Any Dots. With Jenny. And also with, who else? Tugger would be fun. I kind of like to meet her,
Yeah. Okay.
In our production, she's so sweet. I'm like, yeah, I hang out to meet her. Definitely.
Yeah. Who's bugging you? Which cat? Which is the family member you don't want to hang out with?
Who is bugging me? That's the thing. I think as Gus, I don't think he remembers.
I'm asking as James.
Oh, it's James.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, let's see. Now, this has nothing to do with the people who are playing.
Nothing to do with performance. Yeah. Nothing
just because they're a little bit more, Bomb Ballerina is a little harsh. She has to be. I get it. But she'd be a little bit rougher to hang out with. Maybe even Monk, even though I love that character. I did that character. He is all about the rules. And sometimes you just want to, relax a little. And yeah, I would say those two.
Okay. What's your favorite song in the show?
Oh, gosh. Old Deuteronomy.
Yeah,
I think that's a beautiful melody. I think it's just so sweet. And I love the vocal arrangements to it as well, how it builds. It's just, I love that.
Which cat's the best carnival worker? Like, who's going to work really well at that amusement park?
I would say Tumble Brutus or who am I thinking of? Cart Buckety or
so you're going with the younger one.
I'm going with the younger ones. I think because but if you want a good old seasoned, who I'd want behind my back all the time, and also because I love her completely, is Jelly Lorem. Yeah, she would be the one I'd want in my corner for anything.
I think Jelly Lorm's too responsible to work at a carnival.
She is, but she tries.
Yeah, I think my answer, and I said this to Katie. I think the twins are the ones doing that, like guess your birth month and all that stuff. Like they're gonna be hustling everybody out of money from that.
Our twins are amazing. Oh my God.
Your twins are incredible. It was so fun to watch them. It's probably my favorite. Like I tell people, like if you've seen this show before, the next time watch them. Yeah. Because they have such a unique storyline of like sensing stuff first and getting to kind of do all these like little cool things that if you're really paying attention is really a unique part of the show, but otherwise you might not notice. And so I always tell people to like start with the two of them. But
it's interesting. We didn't have those on my tour. We didn't have twins.
No. Okay.
The characters kind of absorbed into Cassandra. Cassandra is kind of like the most mystical of all, the Jellicle cats.
Yeah.
As aside from Deuteronomy and some of the other characters, but so now that I see the twins in the show, I'm like, I don't know why we didn't have them. They were fantastic.
It goes back to where can you cut if you need to cut,
how do we afford a tour?
Yeah. You can, and that is, and again, I think like the Royal Caribbean where there's less, like I think you can get away with that storyline not being there.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's cool. It's a great part of it, but it's like, you could, when you have to make those decisions, you can't.
Right.
And there are a couple places that you could do that. Okay. We got to talk about the Jellicle Choice. Obviously, I've argued at length that I don't think Grisabella is the right Jellicle Choice. So I'm asking you as James, who is your Jellicle Choice and why?
It would still be Gus.
Picked Gus. Team Gus.
I would be Team Gus, just because, it's his time. It's just his time. And
so tell me about that conversation that you said that you had a whole thing about where does he go or what does he do? Like, what was that whole...
Well, we do
what
silly
is the
things.
Thought about him?
I believe that he does make it another year. He makes it another year, and then he's selected the following year. And I think the way I approach it, at the very end, when Deuteronomy is presenting basically the two choices until Grisabella is considered to be a choice, as he presents Jenny Anecdotes and he presents Gus, I'm like, after watching Grisabella do Memory of, like, of course you can't choose me. You have to choose this cat who's in desperate need. So that's what makes it for me, it makes it make sense. We do have like what does happen to Gus after, and it's all joking. It's all just silly things. Like it's like we see like Gus being dragged on the back of the roller coaster. He's hanging on as as Grisabella's going up. Gus licks a light bulb. He doesn't realize and he electrocutes himself. Things.
I love it. What other ways can we off Gus here?
Exactly.
Instead, since he doesn't get picked.
He doesn't get picked. He gets turned into a violin string,
Yeah. I agree. I actually think there's an interesting part of your production is you only have the two choices. Like it's very clear that it's a choice between Jenny Anecdotes and Gus.
Right.
Which does open up an interesting question of why are all these other cats singing for their chance? And it kind of makes them a lot more disruptive. Like the Tugger one is very much now, I'm not trying, I'm just disrupting.
Yeah.
But my argument, and I still firmly believe, is like, I'm glad that you think Gus is making it through the next year and he can go next year. I think Grisabella can make it through the next year and she should go next year. Like that's really, to me, is the redemption is her now getting to be with her. And in your case, the story with her daughter, like the daughter's there. Like you
what I was thinking. I thought that too. It's like, well, great. Now that she's finally make her amends with the daughter, we're going to kill her. Exactly.
And a lot of it too is like, Sarah's not that old. Like she's not
exactly.
She's not. Like, and a lot of the Grisabellas I've seen are not that old. Like they're trying to be like they're incredible actors and incredible singers, and they're performing that like that they need it. But I know you look at them like, well, you're in your 30s. Like you're in a couple of months, like you're in your 20s. Like
you're gonna be fine.
You'll be okay.
Penicillin, you'll be okay for another year.
One more year, just one more year. Spend some time. So you're Team Gus, and you have the same thing.
Team Gus.
how did you all talk about the Heaviside Layer? Because it is like you're riding a roller coaster to the moon. Did Mark and Joey define that for you all?
No, not so much. He let that be basically what we all wanted it to be, which I thought was a nice idea. And what do I think the Heaviside Layer is? I do think it is, going on to that next existence, whatever you believe, whatever you choose your afterlife or your heavenly reward to be that's what I always thought the Heaviside Layer was.
Yeah, I took a very dark thought process in this first one. It was just very clear by a lot of my stuff. Like we got a mob boss, and we got
mob
this.
boss.
But I'm like, this is just offing cats here at the end of every year. Like it's like truly cultish sacrificing. So it is much more wholesome to have the like, okay, we need it. This is a reward, and you're gonna come back into a safer, better place.
Yeah,
which I have seen a few productions have done different versions of that. Like the Circus Cats recently, it's over now, so I'm not spoiling it, but they send their Grisabella up on like a trapeze type of thing, and then a younger Grisabella comes back down.
Oh, right away.
That's
quick service.
Like
oh my
immediately.
God.
Like yeah.
You have to wait longer for McDonald's. My God.
Exactly. It is a straight up and back. And then, like the ballroom one, the Cats of Jellicle.
I wish
Ball,
I saw that.
That didn't feel as like, it actually didn't even feel like she was dying. It felt like she was actually going back into the world, like much more of a, like it felt like she's going back into the real world of like being reborn into
like that.
Like into life. So it felt less of like, it feels so definitive at times of like it's like dying and done versus it ending on a little bit of a happier note.
Right.
There's still time. Can you just one night just cut in front of her and go up?
You know what? I think maybe I will. Maybe I'll just or just hop in the car with her. I mean, why not have two? I mean, since they yeah,
you could do it together. I'd be fine with both.
Or even have Jenny, put all three of us in together. We can all just ride that little cart together and go on. Good time.
I also got in that car. They let me have way too much fun on the set before your show the first day, and I'm hoping to actually ride it when I come back. But I got in. You could easily put two people in there.
Exactly.
You could fit two people. Although it's it's two cars though, right? Like it's one goes across. So I didn't try the other car.
Yeah.
I only tried one of them.
No, I haven't tried any of them yet, which I'm jealous that you've done that.
I haven't done it yet. I just got it. I got to sit in. I sat in one of them. I'm waiting to be mechanically sent myself to the Heaviside Layer one time is my goal. That's why I'm coming back. I'm coming back to try to ride myself to the Heaviside Layer.
I think you should. I think let me know what it's like if it is exactly what you think it is.
I message Joey and Mark all the time. I'm like, just one night. Just one night. One matinee, like you tell people ahead of time and just it's all it is. And it's not in your production, it's not that difficult to do it because all you got to do, like, you don't have the harness of the tire in a lot of places.
Exactly.
Like, you just sit down and you get pulled up, and then you'd have to change the graphic. But I offered to do that for them. I was like, I can help. And so, but yeah, no, I think the potential cease and desist and not being able to ever do anything from Andrew Weber after might be a little bit of a deterrent, but. I think one night.
I'd be very excited for that to happen.
I think you should just go rogue.
Maybe I will. I'll just, Gus shoving Grisabelle would be the best thing. How about I just get in there before she could get in, and that's all you would do.
So as she finishes memory, just get in the car.
Just get in the car.
Don't give her a chance. And then she comes back and she stands right next to Jelly. And she stands in your spot, and then you go.
That's it. Well, there you go. We have a new ending of the show now.
And honestly, the way I would do it, if I really wanted to like truly make it more like true in the storytelling, is put Cassandra next to her, like have her be like back and truly with her family.
There you go. I think that works.
That's the redemption arc we all want, or I want, and you want, because you're picking Gus too. So This is the redemption arc we want.
And then Grisabella can do, next year she can have her little feature.
Next year's choice, yeah.
She can
sing
do
memory
Peaks and Poggrels.
without having to feel. Yeah, she can, exactly. She can do whatever her version of that is. Because what did she do these last couple years?
Right.
When she was out, we'll get that version when she's telling her story.
Right. She just comes there and sings a song that could have won Eurovision, and my little Patter song goes away.
Yeah. Well, no, you're already up. You're now just Peter and Bustopher at this point.
That's right. I am St. Peter.
St. Peter and Bustopher, and then the Gus number is now Grisabella's number.
That's perfect.
This is all right. We fixed it. We solved the problems.
All right, I'm going to call Sir Andrew and Cameron and all those people.
We'll send this to him and to Mark just as another example.
Just to say hey.
Just a reminder, we have ideas that could work for one night or one day. I think it's possible. This has been so fun. How can people stay in touch with you, social media, or any way to keep in touch with everything you're doing?
Yeah, follow me on Facebook, or I'm on Instagram as all new, all different Jimmy P. On Instagram.
We will link that.
Yeah, my old email was, or my old Instagram was much easier, but I got hacked. So that's my new one. All new, all different Jimmy P.
All right. We'll link that for everybody. Same with Facebook and everything. And this has been so fun. I love it. It's been
I've had the best time talking about this. You are awesome. I love your history and your knowledge and your clear love for this. This has been so much fun.
My goal is to change the show for somebody. I thought I had a partner in crime with Mark and Joey, but I'm still struggling to get somebody to let me send you up one night. But no, this has been great. I will let you know because I'm going to be coming back at least once more to give you all ideas to go on stage with and
I'm ready
to hear
for
more
it.
about the teen. So
I am ready.
Yeah, if you test out either the mob boss or the love triangle, let me know if any of those work.
I definitely will.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on, and thanks everyone else for listening to this episode of The Wrong Cat Died, the podcast breakdown of the catastrophe. To follow along, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere else on the podcast. Follow us on social media at The Wrong Cat Died, or check out our website, thewrongcatdied.com.